All right, we're live from the Empowered Mom Studios, and I'm I'm still a little. I don't like to really. I can't come up with a word right now. The word that best describes this is blah. It's blah. Um, I mean, I had a fantastic time on my trip. I planted a whole lot of seeds out there. I connected with friends and friends that feel like family that are just it was amazing. There were some weird parts too where right in the middle of the first day, I had this killer headache and I just knew that I just needed to take the bad with the good, basically. Is like I was not at my best. My head was absolutely pounding. And at the same time, this was a place I really wanted to be and I wanted to connect. So I made the most of it. Sometimes you gotta just do that. It's like when I help my clients, it's like, look, sometimes you're gonna have really annoying cramps and prodromal labor, and pregnancy isn't going to be super, super comfortable the whole time. Mine with my daughter sucked. Okay. It really sucked. I had heartburn from the moment of conception. I was nauseous for 16 weeks at the start. Like the second I conceived her, I kind of knew on an instinctive level because of how miserable she was making me. Um, and in addition to that, I had really bad hip pain and back pain. And she put me through the ringer with the stop and start, false starts to labor for 4 weeks straight. In fact, there's a lot of women that are in the community, in the birth community, that complain and say they just want to induce and get it over with. But here's the thing, I knew that I didn't want to do that. Just like in these blah moments where nothing is working. And I mean, there's a few things that they're not here yet. And I'm like, well, when is it going to be my turn? I mean, I've been putting in all of this effort and like certain messages, I assume, have gotten to people where they need to go. And at the same time, nothing is happening. And I get kind of dreams. Um, I get visions. I even kind of feel like an energetic thing where it's like I just have this inner knowing that something is happening, but I have no tangible results yet. Yet being the key word. And, you know, as happy and cheerful as you see me a lot of the times, I have moments where I'm just devastated. I am just like overwhelmed with my emotions to the point where I just got to cry. So, I have been quiet for the last week and a half because I've been tired. I've been just kind of keeping to myself. It's not that I don't want to reach out for help, it's just that I don't need to. If I really, really need help, I know when to get it. And I really deal with a lot of stuff peacefully on my own. Sometimes it's actually better to let yourself have those feelings. Healing is not linear and it's not all, oh, I'm going to intellectualize why I felt this way and I'm going to explain it and I'm going to say that doesn't bother me anymore and I'm healed. That's not healing. I've learned that. That's not healing. You want to know what healing really means when people say that they're going through a healing process, or at least for me, or when it's like if you're following astrology and they say that there's going to be some healing coming up and you happen to be sensitive to that energy, well, it can manifest as rage and frustration and anger and taking it out on things around you and being like, I just need to beat the crap out of something. So I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to punch a punching bag. Or it can be, I just want to lay in my bed and flop down like a Disney princess, like, the whole head, like head down thing. And I'm just going to sob my little heart out. I'm not typically the angry type. When I do get angry, well, the only times I've really done it, I tend to make a mess. And I don't like cleaning up messes. And smashing mason jars and smashing dishes. It's really destructive. Then I have to clean up glass. And I'm not really the athletic type, so punching a punching bag doesn't really get it out. But crying and screaming out my pain seems to be really effective. So where am I going with this? Okay, so especially with what I do, there is no guarantee that my clients are going to have a natural birth. I mean, they tend to get it anyway, but there is no guarantee because there's no guarantees in life. But that's with everything. There's no guarantee that that one business idea that you have is going to be a success. There's no guarantee that that person that with every fiber of your being that they are the one, and that they do feel that. You saw it in their eyes, but for whatever reason, they're just not coming forward. Like, but you can't control what happens or when. And sometimes you just have to keep waiting. Even when you've done everything that you could possibly think of to do in your power, sometimes it just sucks. And I actually wrote this out in my newsletter that I send out to my list. Just how much sometimes things just have to suck. And that can sometimes be the path. Sometimes when things aren't working, when shit just keeps hitting the fan, when it feels like you're losing everything, and in spirituality, they call that the tower moment. But I mean, come on. You realize your relationship is a sham. You realize that your partner never loved you. They don't see you. They are actually causing pain and heartbreak for you and your children. And then they go off and they get another woman pregnant. And then you find out that you basically need to stand on your own with like hardly any money because you also got fired from your job as a babysitter. And then you have to dry up all of your savings that you had a nice little nest egg and you thought, I'm awesome. I got $3,000 in the savings thing and it's in investments and it's building and it's a start and you've got all that. And then you have a business idea and you're thinking, I've got all this stuff on my computer and I'm going to launch my business now. And then you get a house fire and it melts your computer. And you realize that your partner does not have any remorse and they are not going to step up, even though they promised that they would. And then a pandemic hits and then like everything just keeps falling apart over and over and over again. But then something else happens and you realize that there's a fire in you that just won't die. And that's the thing, is that in order for you to find that fire, sometimes you got to go through a lot. And I do mean a lot. So one thing that I do, and I also put this inside of the newsletter, but I'll expand on it outside of the realm of birth, is that you have to get good and mad. And sometimes if you can't get good and mad first, you need to cry. So what I was talking about in this newsletter, I'll just give it to you, was that when nothing's working, especially with my clients, when every doctor they go to says, sorry, we're not going to support your vaginal breech birth or your vaginal twin birth or your vaginal birth after cesarean, or we're not going to support your completely natural birth because you're high risk or you're older, or we just don't let you go past 40 weeks because you're 35, or whatever BS that they want to throw out there. And they're basing it on could, might, possibly, maybe happen statistics and evidence that they pulled from research, that their research is funded by medical studies that are having a vested interest in doing more intervention, not less. There's no money in having a completely physiological birth. There's no money in you not being afraid to go after your dreams. How are they going to keep you complacent in a system if you're no longer afraid? If you are like, okay, I'm going to have crying in the shower moments. I'm going to throw myself on my bed. I'm going to have those days where all I do is cry. And then I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to keep going because I'm not giving up. I'm not settling. I'm not giving up on this dream. It's too powerful. It's a fire and it's inside me. And I can't put it out because if I put it out, I would basically be killing my soul. I'd be lying to myself every day for the rest of my life if I went and did this easier thing. If I go and do this easier thing that everybody else tells me would be just as good, I know it's not. If I go and decide, well, I guess since I can't have the one I want, I'll love the one I'm with or the one that wants me. No. Well, I guess if my business doesn't get off the ground, I can always just go back to a 9 to 5 and I won't live out my purpose and it just won't get done. No. Well, I guess this marriage is good enough. I should just be happy where I'm at because it's better than being alone. No. Well, I guess since the medical system says I can't have a natural birth, I can't have a natural birth. And I failed the last time, so I just can't have it. No, no. Because see, the thing is that you're lying to yourself. If you're not willing to do that crying in the shower moment, if you keep repressing it, saying, oh no, I'm healed, I'm not gonna think about that anymore. I'll think about that tomorrow. No, no. You got to take time for those crying in the shower moments. I did. I canceled everything. Absolutely everything. Everything that I had planned last week and a little bit of this week, I canceled. It's like, the thing is, I canceled everything. And when I chose to cancel everything, it was not from a place of I give up. It was from a place of I need this time for myself. Because healing is not, oh, this doesn't bother me anymore. I'm okay. And I'm just not going to look at that. No. The healing The transformation happens in the mess. I still don't know when things are going to materialize. I still don't know when my dreams are going to come true. What I do know is I am incredibly stubborn. And when I know with every fiber in my being that settling, going for something easier, or giving up is just not an option that I'm willing to do for myself anymore, because I'd have to live with that. I'd have to live with that feeling of not going all in, of not giving it my all, of not doing everything on my side to show how bad I want it. And I have. I have been here this whole time, showing up, maybe taking 1 or 2 breaks to cry. I'll just say it, to cry or to sleep and rest after crying, or to take a break and do something else because I just can't right now, but always coming back to it, not giving up on it. Because to give up, that's not living. That's, my heart is beating, it's pumping, but I'm not alive. I'm not lit up. I'm just going through the motions and waiting for death. It's no way to live. It's no way to live your life. Going to work every day, coming home to an empty house, or to somebody that I know isn't the one. Having those moments deep in the darkness and thinking, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I want. This is just good enough. No. And that's what I do with my clients too. I basically point out, it's like, look, you could absolutely go out there and follow the default, the status quo, what everybody else is telling you to do, the thing that looks easy on the outside. But the thing about the stuff that looks easy, looks easier than going for your dream, that's actually the really hard thing. Because then you have to look at yourself in the mirror every single day for the rest of your life, knowing that you didn't give your all in something that was calling to you. That you didn't go all in. And even if it didn't work out, that at least you can be like, I went all in. I laid all my cards on the table. I did the thing. Now the rest is up to them. I mean, I did that on a plane home. This young man was visiting Vancouver to see his fiance. He was going to be moving here. And I realized as I was sitting there, and he had been sleeping for most of the flight, but I was just thinking, it's like, I'm probably never going to see this young man again. And he is such a sweetheart in how he talks about his fiance and how happy he is that he's finally going to get to be with her, because he and her were long distance for so long, and he just misses her and he can't wait to start his life with her. And I thought that was so beautiful. And then I realized, like, they're young and they're probably going to want to start a family. So I asked him, it's like, you're probably going to want to start a family with her, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, look, I have to tell you this. It would weigh on my heart and soul if I didn't. You are such a nice young man. And like, I want the best for you and your fiance moving forward. Like, are you aware that Vancouver has a 44.1% C-section rate down here? And he kind of was, he smiled and he seemed a little like, I don't know what that means, but he will. Because at some point they'll be talking about having a baby. And she'll probably want to have a natural birth as natural as possible, or at least avoid a C-section, because no woman actually wants to get cut open unless they've been so traumatized by birth. I mean, I was at that point, but even then, when I said, oh, just give me a C-section and a tummy tuck, I didn't actually want that. I just thought that was the lesser of two evils. But no woman actually wants to have to go through that. They usually only go through that if they think they don't have any options, if they are choosing it. And if they're choosing it, it's usually based on fear and being let down, or thinking that it's the safest way. And like there's so much I could go into with this. I actually had written a blog post a long time ago about why people choose cesarean. And the bottom line though is like, this young man was going to go off, he was going to get married. He and his wife were going to start a family. And our system is not set up for natural birth. And I didn't have any more copies of my book to give out. I had given them all away. I'd given like all the copies out at the airport except for one. And then I took that one and I gifted it to someone I consider to be a sister to me. And I wanted her to have it. So by the time I got on the plane to go home, all I had was my proof copy, the one that I write all my notes in, that I can't possibly give away because it's got all of my notes and things that I want to talk about in the future. Like it's mine. That's my copy. And so I couldn't give that to him, but I said, look, the book's on YouTube. Because I mean, he seemed quite young, so for all I know, he might not want to spend too much money right now. And I mean, they're planning a wedding, and that's fine, because I put the book out for free for a reason. So people would actually get the message. This isn't about making a whole lot of money for me. That will come. I'll get the clients from it. In fact, part of writing my newsletter is to give those tips out. And I have 3 paths for working with me now. Number 1, do it yourself. Take every little piece that I put out there, paste it together. It's going to take a lot of time. They won't have to pay anything, but it's going to take time, and they'll have to find all of the pieces. And I scatter them everywhere because they just pop into my head and I just put them out there. And same with my newsletters. I don't methodically plan it. I come up with the theme for that week based on what's going on and what's most inspired. And then I put that out there. And then the other thing is like the second path is a different route. It's the self-study path with my courses, with my book. Technically, my book is self-study, and it's a free self-study. I mean, if they want a hard copy, it's on Amazon. And I also have a program, and I'm going to add to that program. I've decided that that is my core program, and I'm just going to keep adding stuff to it. It's just going to keep getting bigger. But the price isn't going to go up very much because it needs to be accessible. It needs to be accessible for the moms who really need it. And path 3 is the one where they work with me directly. And that's a premium. But if they want that custom help, they can get it. And I'll bring all of my magnificence and all of my genius to their specific issues, and I'll help them. So at this point, I feel good with what I'm going to be doing. No matter how my business evolves, no matter how my coaching evolves, I've got my 3 paths. And that allows me to charge what I'm worth. It allows me to create my programs and sell my courses and write my books. And it also allows me to feel good that even if somebody can only afford to buy milk and they can't afford to buy an ebook that week, that they're still going to get it. So I told them, it's like, look, it's on YouTube. And I want you to take a picture of this book. So I pulled out my proof copy. I'm like, take a picture of this book, find it, find me. Like it's got my name. So all you have to do is Google my name. You'll find me. Please, for the sake of your future, for the sake of your sex life, for the sake of seeing your partner not traumatized, because there's nothing more devastating than seeing that. And I've helped dads who have had traumatized partners to help them both reclaim their birth experience. Like that's what I do. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to be traumatized in your first birth of your child. I want you guys to have an ecstatic first birth. I want you to never experience the mess in our system. And if you go in without this information, especially since you're moving to Vancouver, like this is my hometown, this is where I know where things are, I know all the little things. I don't know. I don't know if he took me seriously. I hope he did. I don't know though. But what I do know is that at some point something's going to happen and it's going to click in. And same with everything. I just put it out there. I put my magic out there. And I have no agenda other than to help people. Because if they're not living their truth, they're going to have to wake up every single morning knowing that they gave up on themselves. And I know what that's like. Last year, there was a moment where I kind of froze up and I didn't go for it. I mean, I had a whole bunch of stories around that, obviously, and I was trying to play by the rules. And at the same time, I don't know what would have happened. I did course correct, and I have said what needs to be said. And it's still the same. Like, nothing in that has changed other than the fact that I'm months and months older now, and I've had more experiences, but the heart doesn't change. That spark is still there, still burning. And if something were to shift, I would just be in tears of joy and gratitude. At the same time, I can't control that. None of us can. We can't control when things happen. And patience is something that I have had to learn. But at the same time, even if you have patience, if you need to go and cry like a Disney princess and be like, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting and it's not happening. Yeah, that's it. That's literally it. When you watch everything falling apart and crumbling, you just have to keep going. You just have to keep believing. Even when it just feels impossible. All you have to do is think, how will I live with myself if I go down this easier path that seems easy in the moment, but the long-term effects of it are that I gave up on my dream. And I have to live with myself of giving up on my dream. And how will I live with myself if I don't even try? If I don't even try to go for my dream, if I just say, no, 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 it's not that wonderful. I can come up with a million reasons why I should just not. But there's that one tiny little seed that you know has been planted that could grow into the most magnificent flower you've ever seen. and it's not dead. That seed's not dead. It's just taking its time. But if you stop watering it, if you stop tending to it, if you stop focusing on it completely and you just let it die, you'll never see that flower. That's the real tragedy. That's the thing that hurts the most for me, is when I see people who have that longing. It doesn't even have to be birth related, but a lot of my work is like in the birth sector. Like the women, they have that longing and then they get scared and then they don't go for it. But that wish and that desire is still there. And then the years pass them by and then they're like, I guess it's too late. I'll never have it. And then there's the ones that gave it their all. Something happened that was beyond their control, but they're okay because they're like, you know what? I did give it my all. And it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted, but I didn't give up on myself. And I went all in on this. I fought and I clawed my way through and I got what, like, I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but I did heal from what was taken from me before. And then there's the ones that get it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is even more amazing than I thought it was going to be. And that's what I want my life to be, where I go all in and sometimes things don't work out. I'm like, you know what? At least I gave it my all. I really ran at this dream. I did everything I possibly could to get it out there. And maybe it just wasn't time, but it's out there. I mean, theoretically, for me, putting out my magic the way I have been doing, even if I don't get everything accomplished, I've had enough accomplished that even if I did change course, my book exists, my program exists, all my materials, they exist. The resources on the site exist. It's out there. It may not be viral yet, and it's out there. And I've touched enough lives that they could carry it on and they could pass on the message. And if I got hit by a bus, everybody in my life knows how I felt about them. If I got hit by a bus and I was no longer around, I could peacefully go knowing that everybody that I have spoken to, especially on my trip and like when I'm interacting with my friends, even when I'm not at my best, and I'll say, look, I love you so much. And I appreciate that you want to be there for me. And I appreciate you and I believe in your dreams. And right now, I just need to take some time for myself. They know. They all know. Everybody knows how I feel. Everybody knows about the gratitude that I have for having them in my life. And my hopes and dreams of what I want in the future. But if that future never comes to pass, at least I said it. At least I didn't hide it. I didn't pretend that there's nothing there. I didn't harden my heart. You can't harden your heart to your dreams. You just can't. And part of not hardening your heart is letting yourself cry. Because that's how you soften your heart. When you let those tears flow and you don't fight them and you don't say, this is ridiculous. I've been crying for 3 days straight and I just keep bursting into tears randomly. There must be something wrong with me. I need to get medicated. But instead, you're like, you know what? I'm sad right now. Sometimes I don't even know why. It's just there. And something needs to come through me and I'm just going to let it. So I'm canceling everything that I need to cancel and I'm going to just be with my feelings. And if I'm going to listen to a song and suddenly that song makes me burst into tears, then I'm going to burst into tears. If I have to go somewhere private to do it, I will. But I'm going to take that time for myself because I know that on the other side of that, something will shift or I'll just feel lighter and I'll be able to move forward because I'll know from those tears just how much it means to me and how devastating it is not to have it and how impossible it is to give up or to go elsewhere because that is the truth. When I was bursting into tears during my pregnancy, it was because I knew that there was just no way that I was ever going back into that hospital. I let myself cry then too. I let my clients cry. I tell them, "Oh, you're having a bad day. You're having a rough time. I want you to take some time and cry." And they look at me like I shouldn't be crying right now. It's like, "No, that's exactly what you need to do. You need to cry. So cry. Go have your moment because there is where they're going to realize they can't give up and they don't. So go cry. If you feel like nothing's working, go cry, go get angry, and have those emotions out. You don't have to shutter them onto anybody else. This can be your own private thing. I mean, sometimes smashing a mason jar helps you release that anger that you've been holding back for years, over a decade. And then you start to realize that you're angry because you keep compromising on your life. And then everything falls apart, but then you're okay with it because you realize that it needed to happen and you can rebuild. And you get good and mad at the people who let you down because it wasn't fair. And at the same time, you recognize that maybe they're just not the right people. They're not the right support, and that's okay. They can do them and you can do you. And you build up the 5 pillars and you go for your dreams. And you don't give up. That's the key. You can't fail if you never give up. And even if it doesn't come to pass, at least you know you never gave up on it. And that's the thing. I'm not giving up. I may go quiet. I may cry. I may sometimes distract myself. But give up, I don't know how to do that. I won't do that. Not when something speaks to my heart. So you better believe when I said the gloves are off this year, I meant it. The gloves are off. I don't know how the rest of the months are going to go. I don't know how the summer's going to go. I know how I'd like it to go. But I know that it's all in time. Seeds all sprout at different times and plants all grow at different times. And dreams all come to fruition in their own time. And when your dream involves other people doing things and taking actions, well, they have their own timeline too. And maybe they're currently lying on their bed crying or punching a punching bag or trying to just get those feelings out because they're stuck. You don't know. You don't know what someone else is going through. And not everybody wants to tell you because sometimes it's private. Sometimes it's just for them. So yeah, I go through stuff. I'm not perfect. If I go dark. Like I just don't post on social media. I don't do anything. I don't show up to anything. It's okay. I'll be back. I'm just taking time for myself. And we all need to have that permission to do that. So, if you don't have permission from other people in your life to take that space and to cry it out, I'm giving you that permission right now. You're allowed to feel your feelings. You're allowed to take a break. You're allowed to rant and rail that nothing's working, and you're allowed to fall apart. Just pick yourself up again after and keep going. You'll know what's for you and what's not. Okay? I love you, and I will talk to you soon.